بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الهزن إذا شئت سهلا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. I praise Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. I ask Allah to send blessings and peace upon Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his family and his companions, and all those who follow them in excellence until the day of judgment. And I ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to grant us the sincere intentions. I wanted to say to some of you, all of you, in fact, but there are some among you who I'm beginning to realize that these lessons, these daily lessons, are very important for you. I mean, they're important in general, but some people specifically, these things mean a whole lot to them. And really, you expressing that is an encouragement for me to really endeavor, to really be in a state of tashmir, to make effort. And I value your progress and development. And inshallah, I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives me the ability and the success to continue in this effort to be a source of happiness and empowerment and benefit in your life. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts our deeds. For me, seriously, and I hope that you develop all the same. I look at all of you who attend as my family. You know, I remember a time when I was younger when to be a Muslim meant that you were joining a family, and Muslims treated each other like that. You know, it was a feeling. And honestly, I long for that feeling again in my life, where I actually looked at another Muslim and not just say, you're my brother, you're my sister, but from the heart, that's really what it is. And it's so much so that the other person knows that, and it doesn't even need to be said. Like my brothers and sisters, that's how they feel. So inshallah, with these gatherings, that we could revive that spirit among ourselves and spread it to the others, you know, that really you look at everyone in here as your brother or sister, your mother, your father, your son, your auntie, your uncle, and you act accordingly, you know, with reverence, with respect, with concern for each and every one. Because I remember I was studying in the Islamic school, and my teacher was telling me, you know, that's a waste of time. Because my mind was like, go to school, get me a nice degree. And he said, it's a waste of time. He said, go study in the houses of teachers, of the shuyukh, because they're not concerned about you getting a degree or They're concerned about you being successful in the hereafter. And I remember when I was going to school, and I never forget this, that the teachers, they didn't care what I was doing outside the classroom. Long as I passed in the classroom, that was fine, right? So I go to school, take my test, do whatever I do. Good, mashallah, you passed. But my teachers, my shuyukh, outside, they were concerned if I got up for prayer. They were concerned how I treated my family. They were concerned how my manners were. They were concerned that I attend the masjid. Am I attending the sessions? Am I taking care of the neighbors? A big difference. They were concerned with making sure I'm implementing everything I'm learning. School was just information. But when I was with my teachers, it was living that information. And there's a big difference, right? A major difference, to the extent that I left school for that. Like, I don't want to do that. I'm going to go do this. But I don't think what I learned in school would have stuck with me and put me in the place that I am today, except that I learned with my teachers in their homes, right? Or in the Masjid. And it's a big difference. We need that environment where knowledge is lived, right? It becomes your reality, not just information in your mind or in your notebooks, but it is something that you actually live, right? The Sahaba lived the Quran and the Sunnah, radiallahu ta'ala anhum, right? And that's what Aisha, radiallahu ta'ala anha, described the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She said that his character, kana khuluquhu al-Quran, that his character was the Quran. In other words, the Prophet was a living Quran, an embodiment of revelation that you can look at. One of the arifuna billah, one of the knowers of Allah, a student came to him. He said, Ya Shaykh, inni uridu an aqra alayka hadha al-kitab. I want to read upon you this book. He said, put the book down and read me. You don't need a book, read me. Subhanallah. Read me. You don't need the book, read me. If you read me, you'll get everything you need from the book that's in the book. In other words, follow my example. Allah. May Allah make us living examples of what we learn, inshallah. Now we reached up to talking about the reasons for various positions, difference of opinion within one school. And we talked about the levels of the scholars in a school. So yesterday we talked about the level of Mujtahid Mutlaq, which is the Imam of the school. We talked about Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Ahlul Ijtihad fil Madhab, the qualified scholars in issuing legal opinion within the school. And we talked about Ahlul Ijtihad fil Masail, those scholars that are qualified to do ijtihad in certain cases, right? So we talked about Imam al-Shafi'i, and then Imam al-Muzani, and finally al-Imam al-Ghazali, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. So now we reached up to at-tabaqatu al-thalitha, the third level, which is Ahlul Taqrij, inshallah. So we'll start there.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. The author, may Allah Ta'ala have mercy on him, said, the third level, composed of those qualified to do textual exegesis.
Can you lift your voice up a little bit, inshallah, please?
I'm sorry, 1 second. The third level, composed of those qualified to do textual exegesis, and who, because of their comprehensive mastery of the works of the school, specialize in interpreting the positions of their imams that require details and explanation to be properly understood, and in specifying the precise meaning of rulings which might otherwise be understood equivocally, including such scholars as the Imam of the two sanctuaries, Juwaini.
MashaAllah. So here, this level, Ahl Takhrij, are those who came later and they are able to extract from the various positions within the school and the various views of the scholars in the school before them and give clarification and explanation to the different statements and the different views and positions of the various scholars of ijtihad within the school to show us how to understand those different cases properly. So that is different from someone who's just taking particular cases that are new. He's taking the cases that are mentioned in the various aspects of the sacred law by the scholars within his school, and then showing us which case belong this, what is needed to understand this, how this relates to this, like that. These are Ahl Takhrij, right? Among them is Sayyiduna al-Imam al-Juwaini. So we mentioned that it's these levels, the mujtahid, absolute mujtahid, like Imam Shafi, the one that's the mujtahid in the madhab, like Imam al-Muzani. That one is the mujtahid in certain cases, like al-Ghazali. That which one is the mujtahid in doing textual exegesis and explaining the different positions of the school, like Imam al-Juwaini. I want to see how perceptive you are. We mentioned these levels of scholars. What did you notice between the second and the third level? What should be something that should stick out in your mind? Because we mentioned the second and the third level, and then we mentioned the scholar of the second level and the third level. What should stick in your mind? What should you grab from that? Something should pop out. When you talk about the scholar of that, the example he gave of the scholars of the second level and the scholars of the third level. And he mentioned those scholars, Imam al-Ghazali and Imam Juwaini. What should you notice? Let's see if you're up. This is a bonus question. Those who are really paying attention. All right. Abu Muhammad, I get what you're trying to say. You got to reword it. The way you're wording it, nah. I thought you was close. You got the idea, Abu Muhammad, but it's not straight. MashaAllah. All right, that's the issue. The student reached a higher level than the teacher. So give me an example of in that, Isa or Abu Muhammad. He gave you the student reached a higher level than the teacher. Not just in Aqidah, even more than that. So those two teachers are who? Al-Ghazali and Al-Juwaini, right? So in the school, Imam Al-Juwaini is not as at the level of his student, Imam Al-Ghazali, right? So what we learn is that sometimes the student will excel the teacher. And that is what is hoped for. And we should think about that. So we don't want to be teachers that we're always above the students. No, we want to develop students that are more specialized, more detailed, more educated, more accomplished than we are. And that is a successful teacher. when his student surpasses him. So Imam al-Juwayni, if you want an evidence of his scholastic abilities, all you got to do is look at Imam al-Ghazali. Subhanallah, right? So may Allah make all of you much better than me, right? May Allah elevate all of you to a level that I never could accomplish. And then this is not only a success for you, it is a success for all of us. So we don't want you to be beneath. We want you to rise above. So you got an example of Sayyid al-Imam al-Ghazali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Now, the fourth level.
The fourth level, which is composed of those qualified to weigh various scholarly positions and judge which is the soundest, evaluating their imam's position in terms of the reliability of the narrators of the channels of transmission of the opinion from the imam, or in terms of the understanding shown in treating particular legal questions, and who may then say which is the stronger or more suitable position. This level including such men as the two sheikhs, Rafi'i and Nawawi. It is apparent from the...
Stop there 1 second. So this next level, Ahlul Tarjih. They are those who weigh the strong opinions from the weak opinions of all the knowledge that reached them. Now, I want you to do a favor. Do me a favor. We need to pay attention to time. Imam Shafi'i lived in what century? Or no, let's go better because you should know all of this. When did Imam Shafi'i die? In which year? In what year did Imam Shafi'i die? (204). Barakallahu fikum. In which year did Imam al-Muzani die? Imam al-Muzani, which year did he die? MashaAllah. Free slaves on the road today. In which year did Imam al-Ghazali die? (505). MashaAllah. Tayyib. In which year did Imam al-Juwayni die? Okay, Imam al-Juwayni. Which year did Imam al-Juwayni die? 478. All right, free slave, I'm going to let you live. MashaAllah. Okay, then that's up to Ahl al-Takhrij. Ahl al-Tarjih, those who are weighing the position of the school, right? 478 is correct for Imam al-Juwayni. So you got Imam al-Shafi'i died 204 after Hijrah. Imam al-Muzani 264 after Hijrah. Imam al-Ghazali 505 after Hijrah. Imam al-Juwayni 478 after Hijrah. Then you got Ahl al-Tarjih, and these are the level of Imam al-Rafi'i and Imam al-Nawawi, rahimahullah. When did Imam al-Rafi'i die? What year? Imam Rafi'i. MashaAllah, 623. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Okay, and Imam al-Nawawi, when did Imam al-Nawawi die? So the last one, Imam al-Nawawi. 676. Tayyib. So up to Ali Tarji in this section of these levels of scholars, so that goes up to the 7th century. And you'll notice that all of these scholars that are in the Shafi'i school at the different levels of ijtihad and scholarship within the school, and their ranks are different. From the top rank, Imam al-Shafi'i was among the greatest living scholars of his time. Imam al-Muzani was among the greatest scholars in Egypt as a student of Imam al-Shafi'i in his time. Imam al-Juwayni was among the greatest scholars of the world in his time. Imam al-Ghazali was among the greatest scholars of his time. Imam al-Rafi'i and Imam al-Nawawi were among the greatest scholars of their time. Do you see the level of scholarship just in one school? Did you gather that? In one school, we're just talking about the Shafi'i school, and we're talking about those who worked on the madhab, on the school. It's not just Imam Shafi'i. Rather, you had men like Imam al-Muzani. You had men like Imam al-Juwayni and Imam al-Ghazali and Imam al-Rafi, Imam al-Nawawi, and at each of those ranks, the rank of Mujtahid Mutlaq, you got Imam al-Shafi'i, right? And you had other Mujtahid Imams in his time, right? At the rank of Ahl al-Ijtihad fil Madhab, or al-Mujtahid al-Muqayyid, you got Imam al-Muzani and others of that rank. Not just him, you got others of that rank. The al-Ashab, the companions of Imam al-Shafi'i, like al-Buwaiti and others, right? Then you go to the next rank below that, the rank of Ahl al-Ijtihad fil Masail, those who are qualified to do issue legal, expert legal opinion, and that is Imam al-Ghazali, and you got scholars of that rank, not just Ghazali, other scholars of that level. That's a level. He's just an example of the level. There's other scholars at that level. Then if you move down to Ahl al-Takhrij, like al-Imam al-Haramain, Imam al-Juwayni, like Imam al-Haramain, Imam al-Juwayni, you got scholars at that level as well. And then when you go to Imam al-Nawawi and Imam al-Rafi, they are the top scholars of that level, but you got other scholars who had that work as well. And after them, we could continue to go down to Imam al-Ramli and Ibn Hajar al-Haytami and great scholars after them, like as-Subki, like al-Bulqini, like Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani and al-Iraqi, and so many, many, many great scholars all the way down to today. So when someone says, for instance, just from this, I'm trying to put all this in context for you, I don't follow no madhab as if, you know, we follow Shafi'i alone or Malik or Abu Hanifa or Ahmed. As you can see now, you can say, ho, breaks. Slow down. As one of my teachers says, slow down, Chunky. One of my teachers used to say, slow down, Chunky, right? You're looking at top qualified legal experts at various levels of expertise in different fields. Now we're just talking within the madhab, and we're talking about the level of expertise in the madhab. Some at this level, some at this level, some at this level, some at this level. And at each level, they have a specific function that is necessary for the development of the school. Now, compare that to the parrot who says, I just follow Quran and Sunnah. I don't follow no madhab. You see the context? I just want you to, I'm trying to make it as clear as possible the difference between quality and the lack thereof, to be nice about it, right? There is one level within a madhab that is a level of quality, expertise, division of intellectual and academic labor, as opposed to a one-man effort, even if that person was qualified. That's a one-man effort. Let alone when the person lacks the qualifications and may not even know the qualifications, talking about I follow Quran and Sunnah. Do you see the difference here? Is this point loud and clear? That's a question. Is this point loud and clear? Tayyip, go ahead. Inshallah.
It is apparent from the foregoing that scholarly differences may occur at each of the levels. In the deductions of the colleagues and their ijtihad within the general methodological principles of the school, in judging one position of the imam of the school to be sounder than another of his positions, or in judging one position's channel of transmission to be sounder than another's, all of which take place according to the evidence available to the particular scholar in his understanding of the imam's words.
So you're talking about at every level, you can see there can be difference of opinion in how these scholars deal with these various opinion, the extracting of rulings based on the methodology of the imam of the madhab, that's al-ashab, and weighing one statement over a statement among the different statements of the imam, that's another level, and weighing the narrations one over the other, and all of that is based on the evidences that is presented for each scholar at each level. And we're not talking about many other things, that this is just some. Now we could go to another level of that and then realize the expertise of each individual scholar in terms of even the evidences and how the evidences are weighed and which field of study that they particularly excel in to contribute to the madhab. So for instance, which was not mentioned here, like Imam al-Bayhaqi, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, in terms of Imam al-Bayhaqi, who was a hafiz of hadith. Al-Imam al-Bayhaqi, he wrote books just supplying the hadith evidence for the madhab of Imam al-Shafi'i, to the point that his books are references when you want to use hadith for rulings. The Sunan of Imam al-Bayhaqi, Sunan al-Saghir, and Sunan al-Sugra and Sunan al-Kubra, and his book Ma'rifat al-Sunan wal-Athar, these books of Imam al-Bayhaqi supply a massive amount of hadith evidences for the positions of Imam al-Shafi'i, and examining the differences of how to understand hadith related to that, to the point that the scholars said all of the followers of Imam al-Shafi'i, and we're not talking about laymen, we're talking about, remember, because now we're talking at another level. When we're talking about the followers of Shafi'i, we're not talking about common people, because we already discussed yesterday, the layman, he doesn't have a madhab. So when we talk about someone that's a follower of a Shafi'i, this is talking about at the level of a real scholarly student, not just a common person who knows acts of ibadat. We're talking about the whole massive literature of the madhab in sacred law. So that is the one who's enrolled. So every Shafi'i, no matter what level they are of these various levels, even down to the real muqallid, who is a follower of the school, all of them are indebted to Imam al-Shafi'i, except al-Bayhaqi, as the scholar said. Why? Al-Bayhaqi, Shafi'i is indebted to him because of the evidence he provided in supporting his positions. Radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. That's just in hadith. And then we're going to talk about the other sciences of the religion that relate in the Arabic language, and knowing strange words and knowing how to explain. There's a whole nother science. And I'm giving you all this, really, so you never forget where I'm going. I'm supplying you with all this information, so when we just start studying, we don't waste time acting like we scholars. We can just learn and build. So don't forget that. I'm only giving you all this information to put in your mind that, okay, let me go through this curriculum so that I can reach somewhat to what I believe I am now. I missed something. If someone passed, may Allah have mercy on them. I didn't see it. I see all these inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. May Allah grant whoever lost a loved one comfort. MashaAllah. May Allah, let's recite Al-Fatiha for the soul of the sister. Al-Fatiha. Good, barakallahu feek. You can take it down. So that's the point here, so that we see how much is involved, right? And by knowing what is involved in it, you have more respect, right? I'll give you a story. To one of my teachers, he came here from Yemen, and he was studying for years, decades, in hadith, high chains of narration. And so I was out of the masjid, and he was giving a talk in the masjid. I was outside in my office. One of the young brothers who believed he's on the Quran and Sunnah, after the sheikh had finished his lecture, he cornered the sheikh, him and some other young guys, cornered the sheikh. And the sheikh is like, he was still new to like America, so he wasn't really used to these, like a young kid coming with all these. He's like, you mentioned the hadith, and this hadith is weak, and blah, 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 blah. And the sheikh is out of adab. He don't know what to do. He's sitting there like, what the heck is going on here? So now this is a person who's been studying with hadith scholars and has really read books from cover to cover in hadith. And this one, so I said to the young guy, I said, relax. He's like, oh, this is bid'ah, blah, 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 you know, the same old stuff. And he's some of the hadith about al-Bukhari, and this is Bukhari. I said, oh, when was Bukhari born and when did he die? He stuttered. He's looking. I said, what's his whole name? I said, what's the real name of his book? He couldn't answer. I said, so how are you challenging somebody? Right? You don't even know nothing about Bukhari. You just know the name Bukhari. But you're trying to refute scholars. Please go sit down. Really go sit down and learn. That's the kind of thing we're saying when we're talking about madhabs. From our point. Now, go ahead.
It is obligatory to judge according to the strongest position in a school. W12.2. Zain ad-Din Malibari.
Yes, that's an Indian. They're from India. One of the great scholars of the latter Shafi'i school.
Al-Iraqi and Ibn Salah have recorded scholarly consensus.
Okay, let me ask you something quick. Stop. He said Al-Iraqi and Ibn Salah, right? Who are Al-Iraqi and who is Ibn Salah? Question. I know everybody won't answer this, but I expect some of you to answer this. What is significant about Al-Iraqi and Ibn Salah? Why are they important to mention them? If I mention their names, what's the significance? Why is it so significant? This is funny. Al-Iraqi and Ibn Salah. I'm picking on some people, right? Because these are our great scholars in our time. Free slave, Adil, Isa. Come on, let's go. Y'all three. Isa, good. Number one, Al-Iraqi was the teacher, the sheikh of Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. And Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani was Amirul Mu'mineen fil Hadith. That means he reached among the highest level of Hadith scholarship. His sheikh was Al-Iraqi. So that's one. So when you say Al-Iraqi, you're talking about a great scholar in Hadith. And Iraqi was a Shafi'i. He was a master memorizer of Hadith. His student, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, reached a level so high that he's more known than his teacher. That's another example. Remember, he said Juwayni and Ghazali. You have Al-Iraqi and Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, the same type of. They were Hafiz in Hadith. That's known, easy. Okay, so that's Al-Iraqi. We got Al-Iraqi, right? What about Ibn Salah? Come on, Adil. Free slave. Let's go. Isa. What about Ibn Salah? Why is he significant? Who's he? What makes him so? Come on, let's roll. As they say, chop, chop. Let's go. When you finish, no one's going to tell you that you blind follow anything. All right, free slave, you get a pass because you've been doing good today. All right, Adil, come on. Isa, Ibn Salah. What is his significance? Very important individual in Islamic studies. Very important. He was skilled in Hanbali law. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Now I'm messing with you. No, that's not it. That's not his importance. He has a very significant role in Islam. Oh, Farouk. Oh, I told you you get a pass today. Oh, I can't mess with you. All right. Ibn Salah. Farouk defended the Shafi'is yesterday, so he got a pass. I can't mess with him today. So this is his day off. Anyone else can jump in. Who is Ibn Salah? Y'all should be perceptive. Some things you should have already done. Okay, you're getting close, Adil. But come on, give me more. What's the question, Imam? What is the importance of Ibn Salah? Because here he's mentioning Al-Iraqi and Ibn Salah have recorded scholarly consensus. So that's Al-Ijma'. نقل العراقي وابن صلاح الإجماع على أنه لا يجوز الحكم بخلاف الراجح في المذهب. Right? They related ijma that is not permissible to judge by other than the strongest opinion in the school. So he mentioned two, and they related ijma. So why is Ibn Salah? Ibn Salah, who's he? Why is he so significant to mention? So there's an indication. Come on, come on, come on. Okay, I'm going to answer myself, but some of you should have been perceptive. I gave you a book to read. When I mean I told you the book to read, right? You got the Reliance of the Traveler. What should you already do? You should be in your mind already to do. What should you do when you start wanting to know about a name? What should you do automatically? Go to the biography section. Which section is that? Let's go. Section 8X. Go to Ibn Salah. All right, we'll come back to that, right? Yes. Go to page 1059, all right? Because I'm trying to help us, right? The biographical notes. Go to page 1059, X 177. Let's read it.
X177. Ibn Salah, B7.6. Is Uthman ibn Abdul Rahman Salah ad-Din ibn Uthman ibn Musa Abu Amr Taqiyuddin al-Shahrazuri, born in Sharhan of Kurdish descent in 577, 1181, one of the greatest Shafi imams in knowledge and God-fearingness. He was a hadith master, Hafiz, who studied
He
in
was a Hafiz. That's number one, which was mentioned. Go ahead.
Moscow, Baghdad, Nishapur, Merv, and Damascus under Hanbali Imam Muwafaq ad-Din ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi. He taught for a period in the Salahiyya school in Jerusalem, after which he returned to Damascus, where he was appointed as the head of the Dar al-Hadith.
Dar al-Hadith al-Ashrafiyya was the most famous school for Hadith scholars. Ibn Salah was the sheikh of Dar al-Hadith. That is the same place where Imam al-Nawawi came after him, and Imam al-Nawawi became the sheikh of Dar al-Hadith. So he was the sheikh of Dar al-Hadith in Damascus, which is the place that was held by the greatest Hadith scholars of the time. So he's very important. Go ahead.
He authored a number of works in Shafi jurisprudence, Quranic exegesis, hadith, the methodology of formal legal opinion, and biography, and died in Damascus in 643, 1245.
Well, you got 643, his death. What is significant, the most important book in the science of hadith is called Muqaddimah Ibn Salah. Right? This book is the source book in the science of hadith. All of the books that are written basically after his time are based on his book. So all the books that people study in the science of hadith, they all based on the Muqaddimah of Ibn Salah. So whenever I'm studying hadith, like you ain't in the field of hadith if you didn't study his book. Or books that were based, which is all of the books are based on his book. Everything that came after them, all the scholars of hadith in the field of the science of hadith are students or rely upon the work of Ibn Salah. Right? So, and Ibn Salah was a Shafi'i and an Ash'ari and a Sufi. And the leader of the scholars of hadith in his time, and among those whose book is the reference in the field. If you want to study hadith, the science of hadith, knowing about Sahih and Hasan and Da'if and the different types of hadith that the scholar of Ijtihad must know, his book is the foundational textbook for that field. So all of these great scholars with all this knowledge, they didn't know what they were talking about, and we do. Okay. I'm just highlighting a point over and over and over and over till you realize what we're talking about. Right? So Ibn Salah, now, here they go. If we go back to that point, go back to 870, we got that. So put Ibn Salah, y'all need to start building up your knowledge of scholars, your knowledge of time, your knowledge of areas and places. Remember I told you, when you want to know Ahl Sunnah, you got to know time and place, right? Every time in every era and all around the world, you're going to see that the methodology of Ahl Sunnah, the scholars of Ahl Sunnah, were the dominant figures in Islamic history, right? These are the people whom we received our religion, right? So now, read that statement now with Al-Iraqi, knowing who Al-Iraqi is. Reading Ibn Salah, knowing who Ibn Salah is. Now, read what he said about them.
Al-Iraqi and Ibn Salah have recorded scholarly consensus as defined in another
And we
ruling
said the primary sources of Islam are Al-Quran, As-Sunnah, Al-Ijma, scholarly consensus, and Al-Qiyas. So when we're saying this consensus is not related by anyone, it's related by Al-Hafidh, Al-Iraqi, and Al-Hafidh, Ibn Salah. They related the Ijma in this case. In what case?
that it is not permissible to judge by other than the strongest legal position in a school.
Now here's the point. If they're telling you it's not permissible to judge by consensus by other than the strongest legal opinion in the school, how did you get from that a consensus on judging on the strongest opinion to the level of don't follow a school at all? Well, that's a far jump. So this is saying you can follow a school, but even in following the school, you must judge by the strongest opinion in the school, the weightiest opinion. To get from that consensus on that by these top level scholars to a point of saying you don't got following at all. So what are you judging by then? If you ain't following at all, what are you judging by? If it's not permissible to judge by the dominant opinion, the most weightiest opinion, what about when you're not following a school at all? Think about that. Go ahead.
As Subki has explicitly stated at length in several places in his Fatawi, considering it to be judging by other than what Allah Ta'ala has revealed, since Allah Ta'ala Most High has made it obligatory for mujtahids, as defined in another ruling, to adopt the position for which the evidence is strongest, and has made it obligatory for non-mujtahids to follow the ijtihad of mujtahids in all works that are personally obligatory.
Go back. Since Allah Most High.
Since Allah Ta'ala Most High has made it obligatory for mujtahids, as defined in another ruling, to adopt the position for which the evidence is strongest. And
So the mujtahid, his job is to examine the evidences based on the primary sources of law and to adopt the position that is the strongest based on that evidence. So that's the mujtahid's job. And we described the qualifications, some of them, for a mujtahid. You can't say you don't know now. You read it. We talk about those 10 points in Quran, those 10 points in Hadith. We talked about qiyas. We talked about consensus. We talked about the Arabic language, what they needed to know. We mentioned all this stuff to give some idea of the qualifications of the mujtahid. So that's the mujtahid's job. And what about the person who's not a mujtahid? Go ahead.
And has made it obligatory for non-mujtahids to follow the ijtihad of mujtahids in all works that are personally obligatory.
So who is the non-mujtahid? What is he called? What is the non-mujtahid called? What's his title? You know it. Come on. What is the non-mujtahid called? What do we call them? Is it us? No. Layman, no. What's the Arabic term? I gave it to you. Mukallid. Right, Muhammad. Barakallahu bikum. Oops. That's Muhammad. Got to get there. Props. He beat you to it. Mukallid. Right? So the mujtahid or mukallid. So if the one is not a mujtahid, he's a mukallid, and it's obligatory upon that person to follow the ijtihad. What is the ijtihad? What is ijtihad? Not mukallaf, mukallid. What is ijtihad? What is ijtihad? Issuing expert legal opinion. So the mukallid has to follow the ijtihad of the mujtahid. What? In every works and all works that are personally obligatory on them. This is found in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلِ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. In Surah 16, verse number 43, Allah said, ask the people of knowledge if you do not know. The muqallid is not a mujtahid. So the muqallid doesn't have the requisite qualifications to deduce legal rulings. Therefore, he has to go to someone who has that expertise and follow them in those rulings that he doesn't know. Is this clear? Tayyib, let's finish the last section. Al-Mu'tamad fi madhhab al-Shafi'i. The reliable, strongest opinion in the Shafi'i school. Go ahead.
The strongest position in the Shafi'i school. Jalal Buqini relates from his father, Sirajuddin, that the soundest position in the
Now,
Shafi'i
these
school.
two people, Jalal ad-Din al-Buqini was Siraj ad-Din al-Buqini. Siraj ad-Din al-Buqini, some of the scholars, they said he reached the level of Mujtahid Mutlaq. He was an Egyptian scholar who was the sheikh of the sheikhs in his time in Egypt. In the time of, and that's before a lot of those great imams like Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, al-Iraqi. Al-Buqini was between them and Imam al-Subki. Al-Buqini, Siraj ad-Din al-Buqini, let's go back quickly, read him. Let's go to the biographical section. Al-Buqini. I told you I want you to have this book because it's a we should have it here, right? Go to page 1098 at the bottom, Al-Buqini. X 333.
Sirajuddin Buqini, W12.3, is Umar ibn Ruslan ibn Nusayr ibn Sali, Abu Hafs Sirajuddin al-Kinani al-Buqini, born in Buqini, Egypt in 724, a Shafi Mujtahid Imam.
Hear that? A Mujtahid Imam. He reached a high level, Imam al-Buqini, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu.
Hadith master, Hafiz.
Hafiz, over 100,000 hadith with their chains of narration and more than that. He was a Mujtahid. He was a Hafiz. Go ahead.
And judge.
And in those times, we mentioned the qualifications of a judge, right? Judge was a real judge in those days. Go ahead.
He was educated in Cairo and gained recognition as the foremost representative of the Shafi'i school in his time.
You know that? So even in his time, he was the leader of the scholars in his time in Egypt and of the Shafi'i school. He was the reference. And one of the things that we read and we benefit from is they recently published 10 volumes of his works. 10 volumes. Amazing judgments when you see the mind of a legal scholar like him. Alhamdulillah that it made itself to print. Now,
in AH 769, he was appointed to the judiciary in Damascus. He authored a number of works in Shafi'i jurisprudence.
In Egypt and Sham. So as a judge, he covered both of the major areas of Islamic scholarship. Now,
he authored a number of works in Shafi'i jurisprudence, hadith, and formal legal opinion, and died in Cairo in 805.
So when we talk about Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, so you see the trace. Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani was Amir al-Mu'mineen fil Hadith, a great Hafiz, right? His Sheikh al-Iraqi was a great Hafiz, right? And we talked about al-Iraqi when we talked about Ibn Salah. And those Sheikh was al-Buqini. who was a great Hafid. Hafid, masters of hadith, one after another, and everyone in that circle were like that. So remember when I talked about yesterday, when they said, if a hadith is sahih, it's my madhab of a Shafi? He was talking to men like that. That was their circle. Scholars of that level. He wasn't talking to muqallidun, to followers of the madhab. Go ahead.
Should I go back to page 70?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Jalal Bulkini relates from his father, Sirajuddin, that the soundest position in the Shafi'i school for court rulings and formal legal opinions, fatwa, as remarked by the translator, in order of which must be accepted first when available, is what Nawawi and Rafi agreed upon, then Nawawi's position, then Rafi's, then what has been judged, Rafi.
So we mentioned Nawawi and Rafi in terms of the level of scholarship. Which rank out of the four? Which rank are they at? So we mentioned 4 ranks. They're what level? What rank? And Nawawi and Rafi. Nope. Not 3. The 4th level, right? What is the 4th level called? I gave it to you. What is it called? That 4th level, what is it called? Ahlu Tarji, right, Muhammad? Right, Ahlu Tarji. MashaAllah. And what is the function of Ahlu Tarji? What do they do? What's their function in the madhab? The 4th level. It's going to get easier after we get all this stuff. When we finish, we go back. It's going to get easier. Don't worry. But I'm helping you. Honestly, I'm arming you in a way that no one can confuse you. I'm kind of equipping you with something. Right. They are weighing the positions to weigh the strongest position. So they're weighing the statements of the scholars and telling you which one is strongest and which one is the weakest. They determine the soundest positions in the madhab. Exactly. You're doing a great job. Okay, go ahead.
Then what has been judged strongest by the majority of scholars, then by the most knowledgeable, then by the most God-fearing. Our Sheikh Ibn Hajar Haytami states that this is what has been agreed upon by the most exacting of the later scholars, and it's the position our sheikhs have enjoined us to rely on. Kitab al-Mu'min Bishar? Mu'min.
Fatul Mu'in Bishar Quratul Ain bi Muhammad Din. This book, Fatul Mu'in, is one of the strongest books in the Shafi'i school in terms of reliability. Fatul Mu'in. Now, all right, let's go back. So this book, Fatul Mu'in, is a very significant book. I want to show you something. We mentioned among the students of the author of Sulam al-Tawfiq. Who's the author of Sulam al-Tawfiq? The Ladders to Success. Who's the author? I know this is a lot, but don't worry. It's going to all come together. Who's the author of our basic text that we're studying, which is Sulam al-Tawfiq, Ladders to Success? Who is the author? What's his name? And when did he die? No, Habib Tahir, come on. All right, free slave, Abdullah bin Hussein bin Tahir. He's the author of Sulam al-Tawfiq. When did he die? 1272. Free slave is rolling. Rolling. MashaAllah. Tayyib, I told you when we were talking about our chains of narration back to Imam al-Haddad, I told you Habib Abdullah bin Hussein bin Tahir had a student who was the mufti of the Shafi'is in Mecca. What was his name? And when did he die? We're talking about studying, so we need to know this is knowing your lineage. You should be proud, like especially us who are ex-descendants of slaves, who are descendants of ex-slaves, right? We got a lineage back to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We should be happy. They stripped us and we got it back. And even from to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No. He was the mufti of the Shafi'is in Mecca. He was the student of Abdullah bin Hussein bin Tahir, the author of our book. Go back to your charts and your chains of narrations. You should have your notes because you're supposed to study. And you're supposed to love them. Remember? We said love the pious even if you're not among them. So you're supposed to love them. These are your fathers in deen, not Ahmed Zaini Dahlan. Not Habib Umar Sakaf Ibn Umar. Look at your notes. You should have your notes ready. You study your notebook. You should be boom, boom, boom. That should be quick. Come on. Look at the chart. Go on the internet, search. Now it's time to do real Google stuff. Go to MMAC, go to the resources, look up the Asanid and the chains and bring it out. It's available to you. You have it. Go find it in your notes. Yeah, I know I'm working you. There you go. Go find it. Good. Free slave. Bam. No, free slave. Where you at, free slave? Boom. Excuse me. Right there. Free slave. Muhammad ibn Hussein al-Habshi. When did he die? What year? I told you before. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, we're going boom, boom. I got coffee in me. The breakfast of champions. Good. 1281. MashaAllah. Right? And now for you Alawi lovers, Muhammad ibn Hussein is the father of one of the greatest lovers of the Prophet ﷺ in the 14th century, at the beginning of the 14th century. His Mawlid is one of the most famous Mawlids. And he is the son of the Mufti of the Shafi'is in Mecca. Who's that? And he died in the year 1333 after Hijrah. And his Mawlid is among the most famous. Yeah, Ahmed Zaini Dahlan came after him. He was the Mufti before Ahmed Zain Dahlan. So who was his son, Adil? You're all bad Alawi lovers. Come on, tell me. Who was his son? Ali ibn Muhammad. Habib Ali ibn Muhammad al-Habshi was his father. Who died was his son. Died 1333. Good. Tayyib. Where we at? Sayyid Muhammad ibn Hussein al-Habashi al-Makki. He used to teach in Mecca, right? His classes in fiqh were based on the book Fathul Mu'in. That was the book he used to teach all of his students as the Mufti of the Shafi'is in Mecca. And when Tarim was at its low point in that time, Habib Abdullah bin Hussein bin Tahir sent him to Tarim, and he taught that book, Fathul Mu'in, and they wrote by hand, because he only had his own copy. They wrote by hand 40 copies of the book to be spread and shared. Handwritten copies. They were sitting with Habib Muhammad bin Hussein, and they were writing the book out by hand till they produced 40 handwritten copies. SubhanAllah. You see this scholarship? All this stuff is connected. All of it is connected. And when someone says we don't follow that, they're coming against a mountain of a tradition. And because we don't know our tradition well, people can tell you anything. But when you know your tradition, when you know time and place, it's a protection. So somebody said, why that guy seems so? Because you're ripping down our whole tradition. This is how our religion reached us, and you're trying to destroy it. That's why Al-Imam al-Buti, Sheikh al-Buti, wrote that book, Not Following the Madhab is the Most Dangerous Innovation Threatening the Sacred Law of Islam. Because actually you're ripping down the whole foundation of the deen. And as Sheikh Zahid al-Kawthari said, not following the madhab is a bridge to no religion at all. La ilaha illallah. MashaAllah. So we did good today. Alhamdulillah. So tomorrow we go back to B 2.1. So we go back to page 17 tomorrow. Right? We go back to page 217 and continue our discussion on the validity of following qualified scholarship. Right? No, I'm talking about among Asad Ba'alawi, Habibi. I'm not talking about all over everything. I'm talking about in the Ba'alawi Tariqah. Some people knows this. In the Ba'alawi Tariqah, his Mawlid for doing al-Mawlid is one of the most famous, is the most famous, by hands down. This is from the descendants of the Prophet from Hadramaut, Yemen. Tell you. Okay, so now I know it was a rough day, but all this stuff is, like I said, all of this information is to show you some of what is available. So as we do the work, it'd be easy. I don't gotta argue with people every 5 seconds. Where's your Dalil? Where's your this? Where's your that? Would you sit down and learn first? Because there's an ocean out there. We're trying to get you to learn how to swim, right? It's an ocean. And now you've just been dipped in the ocean, right? And you see how much is involved. This is a dip. This is not light, heavy work. This is a dip in the ocean. And if you think this is a lot, we ain't even start. So therefore, let us go. And now when we go back to our small basic text, we have a greater appreciation for what we're learning. And we understand there's levels and steps that we got to go. And we're willing to go through those levels, right? That's my hope. Farouk, you understand? Wait a minute, wait a minute. Ugh. I understand now, Imam. All right, we don't need class no more. We're done. Farouk understands. Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah. And guess what? Seriously? We need to revive these concepts all around the world. They're slowly ripping it down to where it's becoming non-existent. Everything is just entertainment and fun and mixing it all up, jumbo soup. We got a lot of work. We have a lot of work to do. A lot. Okay. Any quick questions? I once needed to correct an elder in my community that was teaching when he presented this statement of Imam Shafi, my madhab. I felt very bad for doing so. He was an elder, but I had to. The elder teacher had been compromised by the Wahhabis. What is the best way to handle such situation if it was to reoccur? First of all, I would say this all the time, seriously. Understand, unfortunately, the default position in most of our communities, the vast majority of them, is default Wahhabi. That's just the situation we're in. And understand that most people have never been exposed to this type of knowledge, ever. No one taught them. No one explained to them. No one even took the time to give them the indication. So don't blame them for where they're at. And believe me, I've made that mistake. So as you get older, you learn. Slowly be patient, work with people, and gradually teach them, right? While trying to find out what they got that is right, highlight that while you slowly work on what is wrong, especially when you're dealing with elders. Don't make them feel like you a know-it-all and they know nothing. So try to find, right, ways to make them listen to you without them realizing they're listening to you. Learn from you without you becoming their teacher. I'll give you an example of this. One time, Hassan and Hussein, radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma, the grandchildren of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they saw an old man making wudu improperly. So they wanted to correct him. So they thought, how are we going to fix this? This is an elder. How are we going to fix him? They said, okay, this is what we do. Both of us go make wudu. One makes it the wrong way, one makes it the right way. And we're going to ask him to settle the dispute to tell us who's making wudu right. So they both went and they made wudu. And they were young. So they said to him, we are having who's doing it right. And he looked and he indicated the right way because he saw it. Someone showed him and helped him along. And he was able to correct his wudu. So we just got to try to use wisdom with our elders. And more than that, be merciful because we understand they were not taught properly. Most of them, not everybody, but most of us were not exposed to traditional classical Islamic studies, right? So that's just like we see a poor education system, right? That didn't emphasize reading for people, right? And then a person gets old and they can't read. We don't criticize them. We realize they didn't get a good example in school and they didn't emphasize like they should, and they were cheated in their educational process. So for us, we're going to try to help them. That's it. So that's the way I would suggest. Be patient and help them. Don't criticize them. Do the best of your ability. And if you can, don't do it publicly, especially in front of people. Pull them to the side and give them the opportunity to correct the mistake themselves. Any other questions, or are we done? Okay. Barakallahu fikum. Well, one chat. That's it, right? Okay. May Allah reward you all. Please continue to donate. I have some things I need to do. I want to bring more teachers, but I can't expect teachers to do everything I do. So I would like to have some stipends for some teachers that I think would help you great, men and women, right? But I need your support to help do it. So please donate at mmacinc.org, donate, or you can cash at $ Masjid Muhammad AC, or you can go to Masjid Muhammad or MMACINC, PayPal, and donate. I have, especially for the sisters, I have some good teachers lined up, but I'm shy to keep asking them because I've used them in the past for free, for nothing. They have children, they have lives. You know, I got to respect that. So help me to be able to facilitate. I would like to bring some of them on full time, honestly, because I think there would be a great benefit to see female teachers. But, you know, asking everyone to do all this stuff for free is not, it's not going to work. So please help me. You know, you're benefiting, and it ain't just about me. I need support myself. I need others to, I need others to help and share in the work, you know? So please, it doesn't matter what you do. If everyone do a little, I'm horrible in Quran, Farouk. You ain't noticed that yet? See, that's a sign. I'm like the worst student of Sheikh Samir in the Quran. I'm not even a student. I'm horrible, right? That's not what I learned from Sheikh Samir. I didn't learn Quran from Sheikh Samir. I learned other sciences. So don't listen to me and put that on Sheikh Samir. Sheikh Samir crucifies me with the Quran. He knocks me in the head. I'm a mess. I'm like, hey, Farouk, me and you share. All right, so I ain't gonna mess with you. No, I don't represent Sheikh Samir in Quranic recitation at all. When I recite, he jokes with me. He said, Tajweed has died with Imam Amin. May Allah make me better. But I spend my time in other things, and I didn't really focus in on recitation of the Quran. But inshallah, when I get more help and I ain't on the ground doing all this stuff, I'm going to go spend my time perfecting my recitation and memorization and all of that. But right now, I'm on the battlefield. So I'm either defending against false beliefs and teaching fiqh and teaching people, or spend my time reciting the Quran. And when I weigh it, my people need teachers. They don't just need people who can recite the Quran, because they recite the Quran, they can't teach. It's hard to do both. You can't be a jack of everything. I mean, a master of everything. You got to concentrate on some areas. So I weighed the priority, right? And for me, the priority was correcting the belief and teaching the obligatory knowledge of the religion. That was more important for me than spending my time mastering recitation of the Quran, which is valuable. But I had a crisis going on for the last 30 years. So, you know, you get what you can get, you know? That's why we need more help. We need different people, right? All right, may Allah reward us all. My coffee is gone, and I'm wide awake, right? Barakallahu fikum. May Allah reward you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. But I do have some surprises coming for you with what I've already got lined up. So look for some good programs coming, inshallah, soon. Assalamu alaikum. I'll see y'all tomorrow morning for the scattered thoughts. And then after that,